Hi, my name is Angela Valente Romeo. Welcome to Colliding Worlds,
an art documentary.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, this is just a little bit of everything here. What they say, that what the mind can do, you can create. And you have created visions of Los Angeles, of cities, of all kinds of woodies, you know, hanging in space. How did this all start?
Well, it started with the photorealistic paintings of Los Angeles, like this one, The View from the Observatory. But I've moved into worlds of my own, kind of creating my own visions. This one, for example, is called Roadside Attractions. It includes the usual kind of roadside attractions from all over the place, but also the Eiffel Tower, the Tower of Pisa. And in these new paintings, these new mixed media paintings, I'm also sometimes including three-dimensional objects like the car.
What brought you to move from this type where, you know, I want to see James Dean looking, you know, sultry over here, to something that's purely fictional? And it seems to be an easy transition, but it's really not.
It's a transition, I think, stylistically that's easy. But in terms of the philosophy behind it and the input, I went from it's actually already there to creating worlds of my own, and I think that's what's kind of given me the energy for this new work. You come from
a non-academic background in terms of you're not university trained.
No.
But you come with the eye of a graphic arts director sort of thing, where it's different how you look at things. Where color and placement are often bigger than life because they have to be.
That's true. I come from an advertising background. I've spent years making television commercials and magazine ads and that kind of thing. And in the past, I'd say 7 to 8 years, I've been transitioning as I age into fine art again, which is a lot of fun for me because advertising, as you probably know, is always a collaborative effort, which is nice on one level, but it's also nice to be able to just completely be my own boss. And with my fine art, I can do what I want. I don't have a client necessarily or an account executive to tell me what to do.
Well, there's also a difference too. In advertising, you've got, boom, 15 to 30 seconds to make somebody want. So you can't be as complex as this piece here.
That's true.
I mean, it's just not going to happen. So it's limiting in its own way, it's exciting in another, but these are purely imaginary cities. When you sit down, is it already in your head how it's going to be, or do you?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, I start out with a basic overall concept. This, for example, it's called LA Stratified, and it's a depiction of Los Angeles in socioeconomic terms. So we go from people who live on the street down here to Bel Air at the top. In fact, the very top house is the Kirkby Estate, which is where they filmed the Beverly Hillbillies. And if you look closely, the Beverly Hillbillies truck is actually in front of the front door. But so I had this overall vision, but then as I go along with the photo montage part of the work, first there's a lot of research. It's putting pieces together like pieces in a puzzle, so that color balance and size balance of the different elements makes for a pleasing picture as well as a depiction of what it is I'm trying to say.
Because composition is key no matter what you're doing. If it's not
Absolutely.
there, it's a mess. And especially with something this complex, where it builds up to this top and you recognize things, you see things, every time you look you find one more thing, but composition is key.
It is. And what I tell people is if you're into minimalism, I'm not your guy.
No.
Because I'm obviously into details. I think God is in the details. And to me, it's kind of a piling up of details and layering of details that makes for an interesting and satisfying whole.
Interesting, because the complexity in this, when you go back to the photorealism, more of that genre, there's still all that detail.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to you have to be able to look at it and know what that is right away, or it doesn't work.
Well, I've always been a detail guy, so that's one thing that's a thread from the previous work into the work that I'm doing now, the mixed media work.
Are they always this large?
No, they're not always this large, and the one up top there, for example, is a smaller piece, but I don't do
Teeny tiny?
No, which is interesting considering how much detail I put in. A lot of artists that employ a great deal of detail do smaller pieces, but I think it's partly because I'm creating urban landscapes usually, even whether it's actual urban landscapes or from my mind. You need some scope for that in order to make it feel like a city.
It does feel like a city, and they're very complex and they're very interesting, and at the same time I'm not like so overwhelmed that I can't. But I love especially this one. Every time I look, I see a wedding party, I find my skateboarder, I see all kinds of things, and you're right, the devil's in the detail, and this is amazing. Thank you so much for being a part of us.
Thank you very much.
Hi, this is Angela Valente. I'm with Pam Douglas, who aside from being an artist does many other creative things, and creativity flows in the work, and you can see in all the work that we have here. Thank you for being a part of us.
Thank you so much.
Talk to me about what draw you to art.
Art is exploration and affirmation of all the energies in life, and most of my work is about transformation from something harsh or difficult such as fire to an explosion of possibilities. As in all of these, you see the range of hopefulness, of energy, of life exploding even out of darkness. And that's true of my water series, my fire series, and I'm now doing something which isn't here in this exhibit, which is air, the life of air, which is a whole other exploration because it's on silk.
Oh, wow.
So I've got various different materials here. There's plastic in this one and that one. These are cut and painted plastics which ripple with when glued, so you get a dimensionality because fire won't lie down. And
it's very much alive. It's very much alive.
It is that. That's what I aim for, something which is life coming off the substrate.
So elements seem to have a real important impact on you.
This particular series is that the life of water, life of fire, life of air, though I've done other things at other times. To me, the primal energies are similar to the energies inside each of us, so that what we're also talking about is the life force in us when we're talking about the life forces on Earth, that the affirmation of being able to come out of any circumstance in life and not just prevail but reach up. And that's why all of these, like this one here, this is called the eternal beginning. So you see that there's no darkness that's completely dark. There's always some fire in it. And even in the brightest moment, there is also a halo of something. So it's a yin and yang thing, but it's also constant change.
Do you feel within your work that you're grounded to the present, like grounded to the here and now? Because these things have more of this, like, I'm out in the universe.
Yeah.
In order to create that, do you feel that you yourself have to be grounded to this earth?
I'm in the process of actually doing it. I'm in the materials. It's not even an intellectual process at that stage. It's what is the paint saying to me? What's happening when I'm working on my new series on silk? It's how the paint goes through the silk because it's porous, and how it's spreading. So trying to catch that, it's more like impressionistic jazz in that sense, that you're constantly so in the moment that the paint's going this way, ooh, let me make this. And then sometimes something figurative or representation will come from it.
Out of it. You're a writer as well.
I am a screenwriter. I've done a lot of dramatic television especially, and I'm a professor at the USC School of Cinematic Arts, where I teach screenwriting. So it's the other part of my creativity.
But again, it seems to be something bigger. Drama is always bigger than life.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It takes the things of life and forms them in a way that gives you perspective, enlightenment, or just a shape of the narrative of the time and world we live in. Get insight that's beyond the obvious.
With the art that you have, you're really stretching into all media.
Yes, I
you
am.
write. You're using paint. You're using plastic. Do you feel at this stage in your life being drawn more towards the visual?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I've had a good, solid career as a screenwriter, and what I do all the time that I can is make art. I work outdoors on a big flat table, and when the weather's good in Los Angeles, which is where I live, and I'm just all day in that table with the paint moving on it, and sometimes I don't even know I've been standing up for 8 hours just on that, on a good day. And that's what I would love to do. Anybody who's an artist will tell you that except for a small number of people, you don't support yourself on it. And so
it's a hard thing to do.
It's you do it because you love it.
You have to have
It's
the
not a
passion
commercial
for
thing.
it.
Yeah, it's not a commercial
But clearly, the drama and the passion is so evident in all of the work.
Yeah.
And there is movement, and there's
Absolutely.
you feel the nova
Change,
coming out.
Change. I sometimes refer to the I Ching, the ancient Chinese book of change, for sources of inspiration. In fact, I'm inspired altogether by Asian art, which is not so obvious in this, but has been in some of my other work.
I think everything influences an artist.
Yeah.
You filter it into it.
Yeah.
And if you're truly an artist, you'll make it your own, and you made it your own.
Yeah.
The work is very dramatic and very bold, and not even needing to be in a large scale. It's accomplishing that in a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful feat. I'm so glad that you've decided writing is okay, but art is better.
No, for me, at this stage, I think we go through phases in life where there was a phase where expression in words was what was accessible to me. And as I have more experience, I think there's so much that's beyond words.
Art needs no words.
Yeah, and so that's where I am now.
Thank you so much for being a part of our little
Thank you
world.
very much also.